Hey, would you like to be in balance with your horse? Yoga can help you right now. Join me and my co host, Patricia, and our special guest, Natalie Maygrath, yoga instructor from New York City, as we investigate some yoga poses that will help you and your confidence and connection with your horse. Also, we'll be talking about hunter bits. I've had a question about hunter bits, what's allowed and what's illegal in the competition ring. So stay tuned. Hi, and thank you for being with us today. My name is Laura Kelland-May. Welcome to the Equestrian Skill Builders live broadcast, where we discuss equestrian-related topics and share ideas and exercises to help you and or your riders. And you get to be part of the discussion. If you'd like to improve your riding and training, win more ribbons at your next horse show, or generally like other horsey-related stuff, then stay tuned because my special guest today, Natalie Maygrath, yoga instructor from New York City, Patricia Jellerson, USEFR judge, and I will share some excellent information that will be sure to open your eyes to the importance and simplicity of staying in balance with your horse. Thank you, Natalie, for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Excellent. So we're going to be talking about yoga, the benefits it have for your riders physically, mentally, emotionally, and how you can apply some yoga concepts to quiet your mind during competition, and some excellent photos of yoga on horseback from Horse Yoga Girl. I'm just going to put her name here. I just typed it in.
Yes, check the comments for Horse
There we go.
Yoga Girl as well.
Is that your site, Natalie?
That is not. That is a special woman who has been cultivating a yoga program on horseback.
So we got some cool pictures of her on horseback.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yes. So one of my investigative questions in doing this segment with Laura was, does it exist on horseback? And it does. And this woman, you'll see her photos. They're really fantastic.
And Natalie has been a rider herself, so that gives you a little bit of insight into what type of the yoga would work with riders to help them, right?
Yes, I grew up riding mostly in the eventing space. I had 2 event horses growing up, and as many girls probably have the same story, my horses did not go to college with me. They were sold before college. So I basically evented competitively up till college, and I'm from Texas. So I did some Western riding growing up as well, and a few little play days, poles and barrels. And my mother rode Morgan horses, and my grandfather did driving and was a big racing fan. So we have a family of
horses in the family.
Yeah, so I wanted to just do a quick introduction for Natalie. She's a lifelong horse lover, video journalist, yoga instructor from New York City, and she's currently director of content for Stream Horse TV, an online community where horse enthusiasts can join to expand their horizons in equine sports and culture, and also as a yoga instructor at Earth Yoga, Crunch, and Lifetime Fitness. Natalie first fell in love with horses on the backside of Churchill Downs, where her grandfather would take her as a kid. She fell in love with yoga 20 years ago in Austin, Texas, while in search of activity more meaningful than the conventional workout. She focuses her yoga classes in combining classical postures with challenging new variations for all levels, and she believes in the transformational benefits of creating strength, space, and building self-awareness through the yoga practice. Does that pretty much sum it all up?
That sums it up. And you can do that with horses, I guess, is what we're going to talk about here.
Well, how to mesh them together.
Yes.
So guest hosting with me is Patricia Jellerson. Hi, Patricia.
Everyone.
Patricia Jellison is a USEF large R judge and is a regular on the Equestrian Skill Builders live broadcast, providing welcomed feedback and exercises to improve the horse and rider. So you're not showing this weekend, Patricia?
No, I'm not. We're in the midst of a cold crunch here, so there's not too much riding going on. It's like not going to get out of the teens for the next week or so.
Okay.
So everyone's
cold.
kind of lying low.
And me. Yay, me.
Yay!
Yay, Laura.
I'm Laura Kelland-May, and I help people improve the riding and training and understanding of their horses by providing hands-on and now virtual training to produce educated thinking horse people. Check out my website. I'll put it in the comments there. And when I'm saying comments, if you have any questions or comments or things you'd like to discuss, please put it in the comments, because we really like to get you engaged with us here this morning. I'm a competition coach specialist, high performance trained, Equestrian Canada senior judge and steward, and produce these live equestrian broadcasts, bringing you interesting equestrians each week. You can get individual coaching designed just for you, and we can talk about that. I'll put a link in the description to set up a free complimentary coaching session. How about a high five for that, Patricia?
Ooh. Oh, I don't have the thingy on my
Oh, you didn't sign in?
I did sign in, but I don't have the little thing on the side that allows me to choose all those little
okay.
extras.
So yay. So we're going to put those in the comments. So welcome everybody for taking the time out of your day to join us today. We do have Natalie Mayrath. Oh, I put Maygrath. It's Mayrath.
It's Mayrath.
Did I
like the Wrath of May.
The Wrath of May. Okay. So Natalie, tell us, how did you get involved with yoga?
So I rode growing up, and that was really my sport. I didn't do more traditional high school or middle school sports. I played a bit of tennis, but other than that, I didn't do the normal list of sports you would think of in middle school, high school. So I really rode, and I'm sure some of you out there have experienced, like I did, people saying, "Oh, well, you just sit on the horse, it's not real exercise."
Yes, I hear you. I hear that from my own family. Like, you're not getting any exercise. You're just sitting up there. So yeah.
Right. So anyone who says that, try it and then let us know.
Yeah.
But so I wasn't really a gym person. I didn't ever do like a lot of cardio. I didn't do conditioning when I was riding, because I was riding when I was young and I've had tons of energy and could breathe and everything was fine. And in Austin, and I also happened to intern during college up in New York City, where I live now. And I started taking Ashtanga classes, and I ended up doing a 6
What's Ashtanga? I don't understand.
Ashtanga is a classical form of yoga that was brought over to the US by 3 guys back in the 70s, I believe. And it is it's a form of yoga? It is a classical form of yoga, one of the original classical forms that has now been translated and kind of muddled into being called vinyasa here. I don't use muddled as a negative term, just it's kind of all goes in the same bucket as what you would see on a class schedule called vinyasa is probably rooted in Ashtanga yoga. And I did some classes specifically in the series of Ashtanga, which is a set series, and it's the same every time you do it. It's very hardcore, and I would recommend it for anyone. And it became famous when Madonna did it back in, I guess, the late 90s probably. But anyway, that's the form of yoga I first learned and fell in love with, and that's the one I'm first trained in as well as an instructor. But it just molded together many more elements than just the physical. It is always different. It is a learning experience for yourself to have things happen differently each time you go to the mat, and to have to connect your breath and your mind and your body and have all this like fluidity is really difficult. So I found it more challenging and interesting, more challenging in an interesting way than like
Okay.
a traditional workout.
So how does this relate to your riding? Did it help your riding?
So I wasn't ever, when I was really competitively riding, I wasn't doing yoga. But when I discovered yoga, which was soon after probably the end of, let's say, my riding career back then, I found that yoga really reversed the stiffness and soreness of my shoulders that had come from riding. And I know in riding, we talked about this, you're supposed to have an erect spine and your shoulders should be back, but we are using our shoulders, and without knowing it, we're tensing our shoulders. And so mine were a little forward anyway. I think yoga really helped me open the front of my shoulders back up from being like, you know, holding the horse's head, and we're not always doing this. We're supposed to do that, but we're, you know, always getting pulled by the horse. And then I kind of have flimsy wrists anyway. They're tiny wrists, but they were not strong. And I guess they were kind of beaten up from riding. So yoga really helped me strengthen my forearms and my hands. And I got a lot better mobility and strength in my hands and wrists.
Okay, so how specifically what can we do for people who say are sore in their wrist or are slouching? What are some yoga exercises that they can do to help them sit up straighter with their horse?
Well, I'd say that just being seated in a cross-legged seat or any seat that you can get into. I know cross-legged seat does not appeal to some people's bodies. You can always sit on your heels with bent knees. You could put a pillow underneath your seat. You could sit somewhere comfortably, and what you want to do is root your seat down and then grow your spine up. So the imaginary thing is a string pulling the top of your head up. And then if you're standing, I'll stand, and you can kind of do a little bit of an inventory of your heels rooting down, excuse me, and then your tailbone lengthening toward your heels so that your hips are directly over your feet, and you could do wide-legged feet or together. And then same thing, the tip top of your head is growing, but feel your seat and your hips can still be lengthening down toward your heels. And you can practice that just really in a subtle way on a horse.
So Natalie, show us the difference between like rounded shoulders, like where you were standing before, rounded shoulders, and then how we want to sit up with I like your visual of the string, because I say that. So, Patricia, do you say that to your students too? Think of pulling a string up and lengthening your spine. So you're sitting down.
A lot of riders have that kind of what I call the turtleneck, where they kind of stick their head forward and then the shoulders.
Like this.
Yeah.
So if y'all coach me, if I'm like this, let's say, what would you tell me?
Sit up.
I'd say bring your shoulder blades together and put your ears in line with your shoulders.
Yes.
I'd say bring your shoulder, like you're sitting up straight, and that you're balancing books on your head. You don't want them to fall down. Yeah, there we go. That's more like it. And relax your elbows down by your hips. Just let them hang down.
Yeah, so in yoga, I would add to that, feel that growing upward and moving downward, and you can feel what we call opposing lines of energy. So the energy is like this, and the energy can't be like this if you're like this. It's a line, so you have to make the line, and then elbows down, and then for the hands, quickly, if you wanted me to talk about hands, this action will strengthen your forearms, and you can just do it fast, and you can do this like for 30 seconds before you ride or whenever you're doing whatever you're doing. And then when we get to cat cows in a little bit, I'll show you some other ones, but this is a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
This is easy.
Mm-hmm.
I find that one really hard.
And
My
I think
hands
this
don't-
one's really good because riders tend to hold on tight, even more tightly than we maybe need to hold on. And then, this is one that a girl and an instructor once showed this in a class, and I use it constantly. It's just like, get your wrist way up toward your armpits.
I heard one the other day.
Putting your wrist up under your armpits.
Say again?
What does that do, putting your wrist under your armpits?
Hit them up, like curl them up.
Right.
And then apply pressure and bring your elbows down.
I mean, what does that do for your body?
It's just stretching.
Stretching.
Oh, okay.
It's stretching here.
It makes you sit up too.
It does.
Yeah. I mean, do you all do your riders get crampy in their hands from riding?
I used to sometimes, yeah.
My hands are very soft. I don't get
Your hands are
cramps.
very soft. Well, you maybe didn't have to ride some locomotives like I had to.
Yes.
No. So when I saw that, this is maybe a little different, is that I saw this is you hook your thumbs underneath your armpits.
Oh yeah.
And lift yourself up like this. That's to get you to sit up straight.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Like that. Just lift yourself up.
Yeah.
We're
That's
getting
actually,
off topic here. That's off for what?
That's good for the
thumbs
stretching
here.
the thumb.
And think of lifting yourself up through your chest.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a physical thing for people who are slumped down.
I like that expression, but I like to say lift your chest more than I like to say bring your shoulders back.
Yeah. Okay.
I think lifting your chest kind of gives the right impression,
Okay.
Then sometimes to say bring your shoulders back, they just get stiff, and kind of lock their back.
Yeah.
So we're getting a little bit off topic here, and I want to know, these are all really important things to make your body aware, right? A body awareness. So what are the physical benefits of yoga for riding?
So I've broken this into two parts, and it works for humans in any area, but the physical benefits are kind of similar actually to the mental ones. It's about space, creating space, and the space in the mind means you're creating an empty mind, we say, and the space in your body is directly related with that openness, and in riding we call suppleness. So you can be supple just like the horse can be supple, and if you're both supple, you can move together more harmoniously. So the physical benefits, I would say, stand whether you ride or not. You are creating space in places where your tissues are literally crunched up together like rope. And when you work and move and do this repetitively, you're opening that space. And it's just so true. And it really, really works. And it's repetitive, and you have to keep doing it. And
so you are getting not just stretching your muscles, like doing a quad stretch or like a suppleness thing, but you are getting right to the core of everything, like right next to the bone stretches. Is that what you're talking about? Like
you're basically getting into your tissues, and all the stuff that is stuck. I guess who I'm speaking to right now are the people who are feeling like, no, they're not ever going to start or make these moves because they just feel like they can't do them. They're designed to open those places up. So if you can't do like something I'm going to do here in a minute, there's always a modification. And what I'm saying for both mind and body is the more you do it repeatedly, the more you'll see that it really does open these places. And being someone who wasn't a dancer or something like that, I couldn't really touch my toes before getting into yoga. And now I can do tons of things that I couldn't ever do before. And in the mind, for people who are riding, it's the same thing. If you repetitively connect the breath with your empty mind, and you do it enough that you can just like flick a switch and be able to do that really quickly, then right before you go in the show ring, you can flick the switch and you can visualize the course and you can turn your breath on that you've been practicing. That's why in yoga, we always call it a practice. It's not a perfect, it's a practice, because you're constantly practicing to be able to execute something so that when a storm arrives in your life, and in riding, a storm could be like you just had the worst warm up ever and you're about to go in the ring. And I've had that happen to me before with my naughty little horse back there. And I've like, fallen out, whatever. You fell off in warm up and you have to go in. But if you have the practice and you do this, then it will come so easily. And then all you can see in your mind is your course. You do your breath that you know how to do without even thinking about it. And then your body also is, instead of reacting, relaxing. And I know Laura and I have talked about this. Do you want me to talk about that also, Laura?
Yeah, sure. Just keep going. I think what you're saying is as you kind of move from physical into the mental aspect of things. And that is so important that people do practice and that they do visualize. And there's so much more. When people think of yoga, they think of the super duper poses, that the shapes of the poses that people do. And that really isn't what yoga is about. Yoga is kind of a holistic type thing where you do train your mind to be more softer and controlling your breath. And if you don't breathe when you're on a horse, you are toast if you don't breathe when you're on a horse. And so, now, Patricia, you don't do yoga, do you, Patricia?
I don't.
What is your preferred exercise routine?
I box. I do boxing.
And do you get to teach? They teach you how to breathe properly in boxing?
Well, it's great exercise for the core, and you do have to breathe to do it correctly. So it translates. I think it translates pretty well. Not that I don't ride anymore, but it's very good core strengthening, very good for your balance. But I can understand the stretching and the relaxation of yoga would be so good for riding, because that's just so important to be able to use those muscles. Because when our adrenaline's flowing, or we're nervous or a little apprehensive, the first thing that happens is all that energy is released, that bad energy, and kind of locks everything up, I think. Don't you, Natalie?
Yeah. There's a way to, well, we could do the breath together. I mean, it all starts with the breath, and any person such as yourselves who coaches riders will say, take a deep breath, right? And make a move, gather up your reins. But when you're gathering up your reins, take a deep breath so that your horse isn't like what the horse can feel everything you're doing. And I would venture to say it's deeper than just can feel everything you're doing. There's an energy transfer. And our friend Rachel in Virginia, who we will plug in a second, who I spoke with, immediately the first thing she said was,
is she horse yoga girl?
No, Rachel is from Virginia, and I'll show you the standing on one leg balances from her in a second. But we could start with the breath, and we could all breathe together.
Okay.
So obviously, like we said, you want to sit up tall, and there's like a little engagement of your core, which I feel like yoga and riding, it's similar. You could look at it as just keeping your core stable and still, or you could take it a step further. And in yoga, we do what's called a lock. So you pull your belly button in and up, and you keep it engaged like that the entire yoga practice. And I think in riding similar, like you want it to be plugged a little bit, like still and stable and strong and engaged. So exhale all your breath, but keep your belly engaged. And then take a deep breath in through your nose, into your belly, and a deep breath out through your nose. And then you can start doing deep breath in through your nose. And I think you can choose out through your mouth or out through your nose. I think in riding, we need to probably eventually breathe out through our mouths. But if you can keep the nose breathing, that's a traditional yogic breath. So if you're practicing yoga, we say breathe in and out through the nose. And then what you can do is start attaching a count to your breath. So it could be 3, 5, 7, 10, any count. And a trick that a guy in a yoga clinic a long while ago taught me was, if you can't get to your count and a thought enters your brain, start over. So if you can't get to 3 without thinking about something, start over.
Start
1,
again.
2, 3. Yes. And if you keep doing this, you realize you can empty out your mind, and it's a choice. So we can all, what they say, change our mind. Like we can all change our mind. You can change your mind when you fall off and warm up. That's going to be my example for this show. You can stop thinking about it, but you have to have mastered the ability to do that really quickly. And that's where the practice comes in. And then the physical, that energy transfer will also translate to your horse. Your horse will feel the energy transfer that you have a focused, calm, empty mind, and you have a very rhythmic breath that is 3 in and 3 out. And it's going to be 3 in and 3 out if you freak out and something happens. And instead of, whatever, I don't know, a raccoon runs across your path on horseback or something, a tree falls, like something happens, your horse spooks, whatever, you can be more able to take that and go with it rather than also like be scared like your horse is.
Perfect. Okay, so that's really, really important to make sure that we keep breathing because the horse feels it really, right? Okay, so just hang on for a second here.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool, eh?
Mm-hmm.
You want to watch it again?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and then we have this.
Hey. Do you want me to do the balancing, Laura?
So let's carry on. That was really good about the breathing, and I think it's very important that we do the breathing.
Well, and your mind too, because I think when you ride, it's so important to be in the moment. You can't be focusing on what you just did, the fence that you just took, or if you think you're going to make it to the last jump, you've got to just be.
That's this, right? Being receptive versus reactive. Because I think if, like you say, Patricia, if you were thinking about or Natalie, thinking about your bad warm up that you just had, you're going to be reacting to what the horse is doing now instead of kind of seeing, what we're going to do. You're reacting to what has already happened rather than trying to make something good happen.
Yes. And our friend Rachel from OTAC, I believe it is in Virginia, I had this note already written down for this program. And she said to me, horses are reactive. And so that's your starting ground. Is the horse is going to be, unless you have a very, very quiet, bomb-proof of all bomb-proof horse, your horse is going to be reactive no matter what, because that's how they are. So you have to try and tone that down by being receptive and being able to take things so that your horse sees that you are okay, and then they will be okay, or they can feel that you're okay.
Right. Okay. So this sequence comes from our friend Rachel Shepard, director of OTAC Breathe Yoga and Pilates in Warrenton, Virginia, the heart of horse country. So you are going to give us I'm going to show routine, something that we can do, or
yes. So from breath, we go into balance, and balance is I believe there are different schools of thought, right? For the two of you, where you should be with your horse. If you're jumping, should you be slightly behind the center balance of the horse?
Oh, slightly in front. Should have
Slightly
your
in front.
head closed a little. Shouldn't come back behind the vertical.
Okay.
Unless
So
it's
I
an
think,
emergency situation.
okay, so slightly in front.
Yes. Hip
Okay.
ankle slightly closed.
Right. So you have to be able to feel your own balance to then start to apply that to how you're balanced on the horse. So the exercise that Rachel suggested, that was one of my favorite ones that she talked about, was tree pose. So tree pose looks like this, but if you cannot go that way with your knee, you can put your foot on your calf, or you can put your foot on your ankle like a kickstand, and I'll here so you can see my foot. And then your hands can be at prayer, the heart, out like toward the sides, up over by the ears, anything you want to do with your arms. This will tend to get your arms to start burning a little bit, to have to hold them up. So this is a bit of an exercise, and you can even do some of this. But what Rachel showed me was stand on one foot, do your tree pose, and then you can start moving your knee in and out. And I would add to this that you could then try and take a straight leg out. We know ankles are important, so we can roll the ankle here, get it a bit looser, and then we can go out and in. You could also do this with a bent knee.
What benefits would that be for a horse rider? Why would a horse rider want to be doing these exercises?
Number one, balance. So you're grounding through your bottom foot. You're still making that straight line. I am from my left heel, so my bottom heel, all the way to the tip top of my head, growing up tall. And the other one that is extremely important here, and this is why Rachel gave me this exercise, was that when I am rigid and tall in my standing leg, but I'm moving my lifted leg, I am focusing on one part of the body, but keeping the rest of the body really still. So when you're giving the horse aids, you have to be able to only be giving the aid you need to be giving, and everything else should stay as it is, right? So I believe one of the examples was if you're going to move let's say you want to move your left hand with the reins, that shouldn't mean that your right shoulder dips forward, right? So
such an important point, because I think riding, you've got to isolate your
yes.
muscles very
Yes.
much so, because if you give the horse too much information at once, they overreact.
Yes, and my dear friend Claire Mansman, out of also the Middleburg area in Virginia, who is my childhood eventing friend of Pacific Farms, she wrote a blog about position, and she said something that has stuck with me, which is if you give your horse conflicting aids, they're always or mostly going to take the wrong one.
Mm-hmm.
So if you give them a few to choose from, they're mostly going to take the wrong one, which I thought was very
good point.
Insightful. So you have to isolate. Isolate is the perfect word. And that sort of practice right there is a yoga pose that you can try, and really it's not you're focusing on that moving leg. It's you're focusing on everything else being exactly the way that it was.
And you can make that as easy or as difficult as you want. You can, as you say, just peel that one foot off and balance on your toe, just like you say, kickstand, or you can raise it up over your head if you find that.
Yes,
and you can do it that way.
You can keep that bottom toe on the ground and just swivel on it so that it's your point of balance.
And it's surprising how much you have to think about keeping your weight without dropping that hip out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how you have to strengthen your hip and just move that one part of your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how
and what does
difficult
that,
it is.
Natalie, does that swinging the leg out like that, that's affecting your hip flexors, right?
It's loosening your hip flexors.
Loosening your hip
It's
flexors,
making
which
them
is
more
important.
supple.
Yeah.
It also is the tree pose. Any variation you're doing is also opening out that inner thigh. So if you keep doing this, it's going to open here, which is always a tight area for riders. The other thing, now that I'm here again, Laura, like you were saying, the hip can stick out. So you have to do everything together. And I'm actually pushing my inner thigh here into my foot. I'm not just pushing my foot into the thigh. The thigh's pushing back.
Now, this is something that a lot of people can't do because you have to be very flexible. So the alternative is, like what you said, is there. Just balance your foot. Balance on one foot without pushing your hip out.
The same thing. And you can just take your toe slightly off the ground or just leave it. But it's still the same thing because I've got my standing leg. So here's my hip out.
Right.
And here's my hip in. And here's my hip out. And here's my hip in.
That's good.
So
yeah, that's important too.
Because I think I'm always telling riders, get a little closer to the tack, which doesn't mean lean back and push with your seat. It means open your thigh and relax your hip flexors so that you can be in better contact with the saddle.
And I like what you say too, Natalie, like root, like stretch your tailbone down and lift your front end up. So what someone told me once was, think of doing a zipper up on your top front of your a vest or something. Think of pulling that zipper up and how that makes your core kind of engage and hold yourself in there together.
Yes. And I think with the breath work, you can achieve the movement in the hips. You have to stretch them as well physically, but with the breath work, you can relax your hips so that they can move fluidly with the tack and with the horse.
Okay, so I just want to remind everybody, if you're just joining us, I'm Laura Kelland-May and my co-host, Patricia Jellerson. We'd like to welcome our special guest, Natalie Maygrath. Sorry, I have Maygrath here. It's Maygrath. Okay. Sorry, Maygrath. And from New York City, she's a yoga instructor and horseback rider. And I'd like to welcome her to our program. And I want to tell you that this broadcast is sponsored by Equestrian Skill Builders. And thank you so much. Go to Equestrian Skill Builders on Facebook. Make sure you like the page. And if you would like to get some more information, please send me an email. All right, Crystal Ridge.
We'll be able to replay this, right? If you've just come in halfway.
They just come in halfway. You can go to a YouTube channel or on Facebook, Equestrian Skill Builders on Facebook, and there is a replay there that you can watch the entire thing from the beginning. Lots of great information here, right?
Woo!
I like that one. I have to get some more. But this one's my favorite. I play that so I can hear Patricia laughing.
I never stop laughing at that one.
Okay, so I would like to go over some of the photos that you have, Natalie.
Okay.
So you've got some photos.
Yes, this is a little bit of a sequence that you could do at home, in your barn, or anywhere. This first photo is called Supta Baddha Konasana. It's reclining butterfly. So you're thinking of butterflying your knees out, lying on your back. What you can do here is, and I'm a perfect example, Laura, if you want to show me again. I used to look like the photo, and I had a baby 7 months ago. And for some reason, pregnant, I didn't ever do this pose. So my knees used to come all the way down, and now they're back up. So you can place pillows under your outer thighs here. So when you see this and you go, oh no, I'm never doing that, put some pillows here, and then you have to just let it happen. I mean, you gotta just, I'm working through this myself lately. Like, this used to be so easy for me, and it's excruciating. But the more you do it, the more it will relax. So I take this into a little spinal twist. I'm going to go quickly for show purposes, but
Thank you.
You should spend about 5 breaths in each pose. If you can see me here, this is a twist, but also I am getting a great opening in my right shoulder, which is so important.
So what are you doing with your arms? And like
They're
cactus
out
arms
like a
or straight out?
Arms out like a T, knees to one side. You look over the opposite shoulder as the way your knees are going. Then you can come up to all fours. Another wrist stretch would be turning your wrists to the top of your hands. You can also turn your hands out like this, place them down, and just lean your seat back a little bit, and that will give you a wonderful opening in your wrist, especially for those of you who have arthritic or sore wrists, or we're riding in the cold in winter right now. Things just get a little stiff. The cat-cow, this is one you can do on horseback, arching and rounding.
You say you can do that on horseback?
You can do this on horseback.
And how do you do that on horseback?
I will do it here seated. If your horse is good enough for you to drop the reins, you can even do one of these little guys, interlace your fingers. And I would do it like this. I would arch, look up, and round, 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 tuck your chin, press your palms away, arch, and round. But if you need to hold on to the reins, you can do this. But make sure you tuck your chin. You want to round your entire spine, and you want to arch your entire spine.
Can you go, go to side profile so we can see what you're doing.
Oh, okay. So in cross country, we call it the sitting C, or at least we did in the past, where the shoulders aren't hunched, but the core is pulled in, and we're rounding a bit so that on an approach to an insanely inanimate, hard object, we have like a defense seat. But this you could just do on your horse. So we're arching, rounding. It could be small and it could be big. If you're really backbendy, you could, really backbend. But
you can't see me right now, but I'm doing it.
Oh, good. Are you all doing it?
All right, let me just say, maybe put it here.
Yes. So then I would go into what the first video would be, Laura.
I feel that in my lower back, actually.
Oh, yeah. You should, because when you're backbending, I should say, you might feel a little bit of like zinginess, but that is actually good. Pain is not good, but if you feel like something's working itself out, also when you're standing on one leg, what we did before, you could get cramping and soreness in your ankle and your foot, but that actually means you're just using muscles. You're figuring it out. The small muscles are figuring it out.
The small muscles, the
really like minute muscles, we don't work those unless we're doing the balancing. So I have found in my practice that if I give that a little while and keep doing it, not pain, but like any sensation is temporary, and it goes away. And if you do something repeatedly, then you will be able to continue, and that will go away. If that makes sense.
So I've got the video here now.
Okay. So if you hit play on that, this is a low lunge. You can just start on your knees. You can put a towel under your back knee if the knee bothers you. So like so. And then the front knee goes forward. You can start here. If this is enough for you, what I'm doing on the show visual, that's great. Or you can bring your arms up. And in this one, your front knee can go over your ankle because your back knee is down. If you're in a high lunge, you don't want your front knee over your front ankle, just so you know. Half splits. This is a great one for the hamstrings. You could flex your toes to make it more intense. And if this just seems insane, take blocks, or if you don't own blocks, just use a couple of big books. Put them under your hands, lean your chest forward, find your breath. Do 5 breaths, stay, work through the discomfort. If there's discomfort, it's temporary. You're breaking up all that junk that is making your body stuck. So then we can go to the next video.
Okay, just a second now. That was
No
great.
worries.
You know, Natalie, you were right in time with the video, and I think you were more flexible when you were 6 months pregnant in that video.
I'm working my way back. I think I worked out more when I was pregnant.
Okay, so share the. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that one. I'm going to share the next one.
Great. So as Laura's sharing the video, I'm going to walk my hands around. I'm going to keep my front leg forward, and I'm going to turn my toes toward my hands. And this could be as far as you go.
Okay, does that look right?
Just let it play, and the video will mimic what I'm doing right now. But I'll say while we wait for the video to get there, this could be as far as you go. You can also take your blocks or books under you. And right here, you're going to be stretching out. So you can just let the video play. Right here, you're stretching out, again, very important, inner thigh. I'm going to take, and you maybe can't see on the video, but my bottom knee is on a towel, FYI. You can put a towel if this is uncomfortable on the knee. So I'm going to stretch my right leg out, and I'm going to go into a half child's pose where my seat goes to my left heel.
Your what?
My seat goes to my left heel, so you can see in the
Okay.
video as
You're on your
well.
left heel. Okay, got it.
Yep. Then my hands will walk toward my bent knee. I'll come back up onto that bottom knee, and I'll slide my hand down my straight leg, and I'll reach my top arm over my ear. Now, again, this may not work for you. You could take a block, and you could put it here, and you could just use that as your stability.
And what's the purpose of the block?
Well, if I'm not flexible enough to reach down my leg, I can stick my hand on a block. I can also stick my hand here or here. So I'm stretching the outer obliques, the side body, all the way up through my hand, and I'm stretching the inner thigh.
Perfect. That's good.
And then I'm going to turn, and this is also from our friend Rachel in Virginia. Spinal balance we talked about. So just quickly, this is really going to help you do that core stability action. Pull your core in, keep it really still, bring your elbow to your knee. This is a very good core exercise that anyone can do. So if you are wanting to get into your core and you don't feel like you can do those insane, core exercises that all the ripped people do, this is a perfect place to stabilize and strengthen your core. Here and here. You can even try and hold. But the deal with the moving the arm and the leg is that I'm trying to keep my center in my center, if that makes sense. So keep stabilizing the middle.
Wow. Good exercises.
Yeah.
So while you were doing that, we had this from Cynthia. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for putting in the comment.
Hi, Cynthia.
Great information. Thank you for sharing. Yes, well, thank you so much for your comment. Really good exercises. So we are at 20 after 10, and now you're just showing off, Natalie.
No, I'm going to the next one in case you want it, because we didn't talk about feet. So I don't know if you can see my feet.
No, unfortunately, we can't. I don't know how to do that.
So that's okay. I'll go to the edge here. So I'm going to squat down, and my feet can be apart or my feet can be together. And if they're together, I'm going to be like a little froggy with my feet and heels together, and then put my hands on the ground. And then you can go at your own space, your own body, whatever feels good in your body, but this will really open your low back.
So that, Natalie, that one, I'm trying to do that one in my yoga practice, and I have to put cushions underneath between my thighs and my calves, because bending down like that is just brutal for me.
Cushions The other trick with the squatting is that you can still get into your feet if you sit on a block, and Miss Josephine might make an appearance here. So you maybe can't see, but I'm sitting on a block.
Yeah.
So you can start just sitting normally and then come in so that your knees are not compromised here.
Yeah.
And then start leaning a little forward so you can get your elbows in front of your thighs.
Yeah.
Press your hands together, drop your tailbone down. Even if you're sitting on blocks or books, drop your tailbone. Like, it's still the energy. Even though you're not really dropping your tailbone, you're visualizing that you're dropping your tailbone and the energy is going down, like you said, Patricia, getting into your tack.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final one, Laura, are those last photos if you want to pull those up. But the final one I put in here is a wide-legged forward fold. And there are a couple of photos that show some modifications if you can't fold really far forward with your legs wide. These are some modifications you can do. You don't have to have a fancy yoga bolster pillow. You can just use a regular pillow.
Yeah.
Or a few regular pillows.
Okay, that's one.
And then that's another one.
Right. So you're sitting on something up high with a block to support your upper body. So you just go down as far as you can and keep your back straight.
Yes, exactly what you just said. You can see that her spine is straight, but it's tipping, and that I would call hinging at your hips.
Hinging at your hips. Am I sharing this? Yeah, good. Okay, perfect. Let's see what else we got here. Next one is cat cow.
Those are the cat cows.
So you do some yoga too, Laura?
I just started the COVID yoga in the mornings. My friend and I, we get together and we make each other accountable for doing some exercise, and I just do online classes that are on YouTube, and I love it. I did every day for last month and this month so far, and it's a kind of fun. It's fun. So here is the woman. Her name is the horse
underscore yoga underscore girl. And the photo credit is Desiree Photography. And she is based in Virginia. And the name of this horse is escaping me, but as Laura has said, he's a special animal. He stands still for these exercises. And I just want to throw out that she does sessions with people who are not riders. And it's a way that the transfer of energy can happen with the horse and human when they're not necessarily riders, but they're doing the yoga on horseback.
Wow, that's cool. Kind of like the therapeutic riding, just the energy exchange between the adults or the kids that do that and the horses is supposed to be so healing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we have that one, and
beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely horsey. I mean,
yes. And this is a beautiful, beautiful photo. And I believe that some of these poses are probably like a massage for the horse.
Mm.
But yes, also located in Virginia, and really extraordinary. I mean, to do it on horseback. I know we've seen trick riding, but the energy exchange is clear for sure.
Oh, yes.
Well, I want to thank you, Natalie. But before we go, I wanted to talk with Patricia as well before we sign off about the bit thing. I did get some questions about a bit, and I wanted to Patricia, what did you find out about the bit question? We had a question. Somebody asked us about hunter gags and if they're permitted and what you would. And I think maybe we'll touch on it today a little bit, but we'll make a little bit more time for it next week. How does that sound, Patricia?
Sounds good.
Because we could really talk about this forever.
Right.
What did you find out about the hunter gags in the rule book?
That the hunter gags, which are the snaffle, a lot of times they have different mouthpieces, but the sides have fixed places for the reins. The reins actually go in a little slot. And those are considered unconventional bits, and they're not disqualification, but they are definitely to be taken into consideration. Regular gag bits with the sliding cheek pieces are illegal.
Right.
And 3 rings are illegal in the hunters. In the jumpers, there's really no restrictions as to what bits you use. Am I correct? Do you have
that's what I found.
here?
So I got this here. So this is some samples here. This is a faux gag. It's a hunter gag, and that to me would be an unconventional bit. And so, what you as a judge, what would you say if you saw a hunter come in with something like that?
The first thing, if someone's using an unconventional bit, is I wonder what the problem is. Why they would, with all the bits to choose from, why would they have to go to an unconventional bit?
Yeah.
So that makes me wonder a little bit. And like I said, I certainly wouldn't disqualify, but if there's a horse that goes as well in a conventional bit, that horse is definitely going to have the edge, in my opinion.
So this is the gag that we were talking about.
That's a traditional gag.
Yeah. This is a gag here.
It's a traditional gag as well.
Right.
It's
got the slides.
Yeah.
Right. And this one is not permitted.
The sliding gag.
This one
ring,
not permitted.
Not permitted. The 3 ring is not permitted in the hunters.
This is not permitted for a number of reasons. Not permitted.
It's a leverage bit, and they kind of, except for the pelham, they tend to stay away from leverage type bits in the hunters because it makes for a little bit of an artificial carriage, and in the hunters, a large part of it is the horse's natural carriage.
Yeah, so those are not permitted. And then I got the rule. I just quickly here, I'm going to share the rule book. Share screen. So for, let me just see. Yeah, I want the Chrome tab, Photos, Google Photos. So this is direct from the USEF rule book. Snaffles, pelhams, full bridles with cavesson are required. Judges may penalize but may not eliminate a horse or pony that competes in a snaffle, pelham, or full bridle that is unconventional. So that's the key word here, unconventional. Unconventional snaffles, pelhams, or full bridles include but are not limited to hunter gags, kimberwooks, etc. So, and then the judges must eliminate a horse or pony illegal bits. Illegal bits included but not limited to 3 rings, gags. So that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna end it on that. I want to thank so much Natalie for
Thank you, Natalie. Wonderful.
Being here with us and sharing your expertise with us. And thank you, Patricia, for being here, and thank me for being here.
Thank you, Laura, for getting us all together.
Natalie, your mic is muted.
I'd love to say we will be featuring more yoga, Pilates, and wellness for humans and horses over at Stream Horse TV in the very near future. This has really inspired me to delve into this horses and humans, not only physical and mental, but just wellness overall. We also have a show coming up hosted by your own Laura Kelland-May over on Stream Horse. So look for that coming soon.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I want to invite people back here next week. I have a special guest. Jen Hamilton is going to be on next week, and we hope to see you there. She's going to share some excellent information about her riding, her book, and some exercises that you can use with your horse. So stay tuned for next week, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Natalie, final words from you.
Thank you, everyone. Check out Stream Horse, and I will send in my own photo for y'all to critique on a future show.
Oh, nice.
Oh, right. We didn't see your photo.
Yes.
We'll do it on a show coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll send it.
Yay. And Patricia, how about you? Final words.
Go practice this stuff.
Go practice.
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 Yeah, what
yes.
is it you say? Don't do at the horse show what you haven't done at home.
Yes, absolutely.
So great. So I want to say progress faster, ride effectively, and be extraordinary. And we shall see you next week. Oh, we got a comment.
Go hug your horse. That's what you always say.
Oh, she said, yes. Now go hug your horse. Go use this stuff. Go hug the horse. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. And we'll see you next week. Thanks now. Bye.